What's up, mindful people out there? In my last video, I make the link here or there. I talked about peace and what peace actually means, and how to achieve it. And the title was "Is Peace Possible?" And I got some comments about it, which were actually just negative. People said nope. Impossible, cannot do this. It's very clear that, Russia is insane and, this is, just not working. War is the only alternative we have right now. And I absolutely disagree. Because what you need to understand about, the outside world, it is a reflection of the inside world. So the state of our world and our societies is the sum of the mind states of the people on this planet right now. So if you are living in a country where most people think that the best way to live is through capitalism and consumerism, then that is exactly what will happen. So if there would be in Germany a majority of people who come to the conclusion that this kind of lifestyle is not beneficial, not only for the next generations, but also for us right now, then something else would appear. If some people in the country, kind of like the majority agrees that, for what reason ever, communism is or a dictatorship is the best way to run a country, then this is exactly what happens on the planet. So if, the mind state of people are focused on selfishness, then of course, we will consume and, be focused only on ourselves. And this is the world we are living in. So it's not disconnected, it's not that there are a couple of, very powerful people and they kind of decide what will happen. It's kind of like, is the majority following or not? And so that means the mind states of the people are important. And it's very, very important to realize how much media and social media, how much influence that has on our mind states. Just whenever you consume something from the outside, if it is your friends talking to you or you see something on TV that's all outside, first thing is be critical about it. And the second thing is, never, lose the idea of that what happens on the outside is actually just the sum of the people who are living in this system. So if we would all decide that we don't want to live in war, then the war would stop. It's the question is only, what are we able to do for it? And the way is, how we treat other people, how we hold other people in our hearts. Do we make somebody else into our enemy just because they are living in a different way, they are living in a different system, or can we hold them in our heart? So that's the same thing for religion. If I would call myself a Buddhist, I would put myself into a box and then would kind of like compare and judge myself to other people who are Muslims or Christians or something like this. And we just see that, there's a difference. And so that means it's opposing myself, and then we could start fighting. If we see that this part of, what we think is right and wrong is just a small part of ourselves, and there's just so much more to what it means to be a human being, then we can hold each other with respect, with understanding, with celebrating the differences, and be assured that the only way, that's what a lot of people think, the only way to keep peace is, to hold a big gun to the head of somebody who thinks different than you. The only way of, being in, like a business environment is, hardcore competition. But if you look at nature, there are two different kinds of energy. There is, of course, competition. Like all the plants are kind of trying to occupy a certain space, which leaves less space for others. That's one part of nature. But then you see also there's the energy of cooperation. So there are fungi in the soil which are bringing nutrients up to the roots of the plants. The birds are eating from the trees, so it's all a net of, mutual support. And, nature works on the laws of nature, but we as human beings, we have the choice to decide what kind of energy we want to follow, the competition or the cooperation. And the more we follow the cooperation, the more we benefit from each other, and the more we are in competition, the more, the state of the world, the state of our societies will go down the drain. So we decide. And for that, we need to train our mind. So if we just leave it to our instincts, of course, then, having the bigger gun makes you feel quite safe, and then you can convince everybody, to the way you think is right. But this is not how we will survive on this planet, because we see that we will invent bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger guns. And, we'll always go from war to peace to war to peace. And even in these kind of times, you see, like in the times of peace, people agree on peace. In the times of war, people agree on war. So if you don't agree on war, if you don't agree on, destroying this planet, and that it is necessary that the things are the way they are, that we can, consume and, have a nice lifestyle, then the world will continue in this way. But, you can do something. And the way to do it is to, when you see something which is not the way you would like to be in, mentally go to the opposite. And I love the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. He was, writing this beautiful prayer which says, "Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there's hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, let me pardon. Where there's doubt, let me sow faith. Where there's despair, let me sow hope. Where there's darkness, let me sow light. Where there's sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in the dying that we are born to eternal life." That is the way to go. Like if you feel that there's an energy which is not good for this earth, train your mind in the way that you bring the energy into the opposite direction. And that is the way how you heal yourself, how you heal your heart. Like when you are hurt, when somebody else hurt you, you can sit with this hurt forever. Or you start to train your mind in forgiving, in loving kindness, that you're sending this person your loving kindness. And it doesn't mean that you be okay with what this person does. If this war is happening, it doesn't mean that you are okay with what people had. But the idea is that you bring, like this peace and forgiveness into your own heart, and that will radiate to the other people. Just an extreme example, Germany, after the Second World War, my country has committed so many crimes to humanity. By far the worst destruction which ever happened. But when the war was over, the whole world just understood that we need to come into a process of forgiveness and to a process of, just reversing the hate which we had felt from before. And that, us Germans, it was the biggest service, the other countries could do for us. And that ultimately leads to a beautiful mind state of connection, of understanding, of friendship. And this is what we all thrive for. This is the environment we all want to live in. So, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace means, bring this energy to every single part of your life. Forgive your enemies, forgive the people who are on the other side, and see that in every war on both sides, people are dying. Both need peace. Both don't want to live in that environment. Like when you ever talk to a soldier who has been in war, no matter if it was on the so-called right side or so-called wrong side, they all traumatized. It is the worst thing which can happen to this planet and to our humanity as a whole. So we need to come to a point where we start to make peace, to forgive, and stop, being so afraid of each other, and, living what the potential we all have inside of us means. Yeah, so don't forget, what life is about. Don't forget that we have a choice, and don't forget that it's on all of us. Now people, went on the streets, the tens of thousands, to demonstrate for peace in both countries. Don't forget that in Russia, the people are also demonstrating for peace. If that movement would become much bigger, then the world would change. And this is what we need to do. So I'm going to make a peace meditation. And I hope you join doing this peace meditation with me every single day, so that we can change the state of the mind of people. And, like when, a couple of years ago, I had really difficulties believing that, prayers and meditation could have an actual influence on my surrounding and the world. And it was really interesting. There are some crazy but really good scientists who did scientific research. They asked a group of people to pray for certain people in hospital. So, but what the people didn't know is that all these people they choose, randomly, were already out of hospital. And then they looked afterwards if it had an effect on the people's recovery, and it had a tremendous effect. So there are a couple of these kind of funny things scientists have done, which lead to understanding that meditation is not only something which you create in your own mind, but that has an actual energy which is radiating. And I don't know if you have ever met some of these enlightened masters. You come into the room and something is happening. And I cannot tell you what that is, but I experienced it so many times with Amma, with my own teacher, with Thich Nhat Hanh. We were doing a meditation retreat only for monks and nuns, and there were a lot of the monks and nuns of Thich Nhat Hanh Zen tradition, and because it was in Thailand, there were 50 monks and nuns from the Theravada tradition. And like the relationship between monks and nuns in this Theravada tradition is pretty different. There's a huge gap, and in the Thich Nhat Hanh Zen tradition, they bow in front of each other, they treat each other with so great respect and equality, and that had such an amazing impact on the monks and nuns from our tradition that in the end they were sitting together, they were talking and listening to each other in the most beautiful way. Just one person can make a difference, and be that person. Be how you want the world to be. If you want peace, make peace inside of yourself. Stop fighting against yourself and stop running around consuming and wanting energy from other people, because this world needs something else right now. Okay, do right away the meditation next video, and I hope I get some more comments which agree a little bit with me, that we can get this movement going. Thank you.